Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we are in the world. A very warm welcome to Meet Menaca, episode 81. Today, we are going to be discussing fitness, health, and wellness with Lizzie Barker, a personal trainer and a speaker. Why are we discussing well-being today? Well-being is so much more than just exercising or having a fit body. Fitness, health, and wellness are all directly related to one another. In a way, you can be fit, as in have a fit body and not be healthy. Or you can be healthy and not have a fit body. So that's the reason we have asked an expert to come and speak today about it, because well-being, particularly during the pandemic, we all got to know how important it is to be healthy and have a healthy lifestyle to maintain health and sustain it. Firstly, a very warm welcome to you, Lizzie.
Thank you.
Firstly, let me talk a bit more about our speaker today. Lizzie Barker is a personal trainer and she's intuitive. She knows just what to give her clients on any given day: a listening ear, an old-fashioned rebuke, a refined training strategy, and everything in between. She's extremely passionate in what she does and would like everyone to enjoy some form of exercise right until late life. She thrives in helping perimenopausal and postmenopausal women achieve a healthy, balanced lifestyle through exercise. As an athlete, Lizzie is an accomplished cyclist, runner, swimmer, and has done 3 triathlons and 10-kilometer races. Lizzie's favorite kind of exercise is high interval training combined with weights for strength. She loves to swim in open waters in North Norfolk. Outside of balance, Lizzie is an outdoors enthusiast, homemaker, loves to travel and read while listening to podcasts. Her travels have taken her to many parts of Asia, especially Sri Lanka. While in Sri Lanka, the first time, she experienced tsunami hitting the nation. Since then, she has traveled with her young son to Sri Lanka numerous times, loving the beauty of the country, culture, and her people. With that backdrop, Lizzie has aspired to embark on a challenge to raise awareness and funds for a local women's charity in Sri Lanka through Meet Menaca. On a lighter note, Lizzie loves her Indian vegetarian food, which she cheekily says it's finger-licking good. A very warm welcome to you once again, Lizzie. Let me talk a bit about the talk show before we go into the discussions. Meet Menaca features experts sharing their wisdom and real people sharing real stories. It's a vibrant 90-minute multicultural online talk show to celebrate each and every one of you. You can join the event by a free registration, and we normally share the link in all the social medias, or please drop us an email, meet@menaca.co, and all the library, we have all the past videos present there. YouTube, it is called Meet Menaca. Again, drop us an email. If you can't find it, we'll send you the link. Please support us to share these inspirational messages and creating positive change by subscribing to the channel. Lizzie, you know that well-being is so much more than just exercise or diet or sleep. Fitness, health, and wellness are closely linked. I know it helps with endorphins. There are many scientific evidence to it. Partly it can be physical activity, diet, sleep. What are your thoughts, Lizzie?
You talked about being fit, that you can be fit and not healthy and healthy and not fit. And, there's different components to everything: sleep, your diet, your exercise, but, also your overall wellness, and all these activities need to, be taken care of to be truly well. And wellness is about physical health, nutritional health, and mental health. And fitness is an important part of health. And you should establish some part of workout routine, and that there is something for everybody. So I think you've got to find something that you really love doing. So whether the gym is not for everybody. I've got some clients that are totally overwhelmed by going to the gym. There's lots of young males there with lifting heavy weights, and that's just not for them. So it could just be you find a dance class that you love, you go and play tennis outside, you walk in the park. There's so many different things. And just as human beings, we're meant to move. We're not meant to sit at a desk. We're not designed to sit at a desk, and all those other problems that come from sitting too long and a sedentary lifestyle. And I think, in, like you talked about the lockdown, that people found you look at the runners, people taking up running for the first time. I mean, it was massive. So it's your overall well-being, isn't it? It's all those components, and you can be super fit at one and then not at the others. And you just need to have a balance across the board with everything, I think. You're not going to be good 100% of the time, but if you eat well 80% of the time, that's going to have an effect on your body and also how you sleep and, your positive mindset as well.
It's about 80-20, isn't it? And everything, it's a balance. You have to have a life, but also do the right thing. There's always
exactly, and you need those little treats, don't you? So if your thing is a piece of cake, then have your piece of cake, but maybe don't eat it, every single day of the week. Set Sunday's the day that you have pudding, or little small things that you can do. Just eat well, majority of the time. And I always find, like with clients, as soon as they start putting exercise into their routine, then their food becomes more important to them as well, because you realize what goes in does come out, and it affects your muscles and your stamina, and it has just a huge effect on all aspects of
I was laughing because tell me about it as a chocoholic dentist. How hard it is to burn those calories. So that's
and that's the thing, because they always say you can't out-train a bad diet, and I can get you to do an hour's really high intensity in the park running, and then you could go home and polish off add those calories back up by eating 6 biscuits. I mean, it's as easy as that to put it in. To burn it off, is if you start looking at how long it takes on a treadmill to burn off, say 400 calories, you're there for quite a while. Whereas 2-3 biscuits, there's 400 calories, isn't it? So you've got to be a little bit mindful about these things.
Of course, sure. Thank you. So let's start from basics. What are the benefits of physical activity? Most of us know it, but I think we need constant reminders. So let me ask you, an expert again, what are the benefits of physical activity in general?
So you touched on endorphins. So it's the serotonin, you release that feel-good hormone. So I don't know if you work, you go. So I went for a run this morning. I don't love running, but I love the way it makes me feel afterwards. So I get that massive sense of well-being. I'm like, yes, I've accomplished it. And Suji, you talked about you went for your walk this morning and how good it makes you feel, and it sets you up for the rest of the day. You don't need to do something every morning, but you do need to move every single day. You need to do something as part, whether it's getting outside and gardening, going for a walk, walking the dog. Like you said, you put your milk in the microwave and you dance around for 2 minutes. You can do small little chunks of movement, but we are meant to move. And also it makes you strong. As you get older, you lose muscle mass year on year. So I think from the age of 35, your muscles start shrinking. And it's, if you're not using them, you do lose them. That is a fact. So you need to keep your body strong and healthy. And it's not like looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's about, can I bend over and put my socks on? Can I pick up? I remember we started training and she was playing crazy golf. And she said that's the first time I'd picked up a ball without having to put my hands on my knee and lean down to get it. And it's just little things, getting yourself out of a bath as you get older. And, all these things that we take for granted, everyday activities when we're young, become more and more difficult if you haven't looked after yourself as you get older. So, and you want to run around with your kids and play football in the garden with your grandchildren. And, for me, it's about quality of life as well, I think, and being able to travel and all those things that people love to do, that ties into, fitness and also looking after your heart. It's a muscle, like your muscles in your arms. So, you need some form of cardio. And I don't know if you want to touch on, so I was sort of working at where your heart rate should be. So I use a watch to check my heart rate. You don't have to do that, but you can work out your maximum heart rate which would be 220 beats per minute minus your age. So say I'm 50, 220 minus 50 is 170 beats per minute. That's my maximum heart rate. So if I'm working moderately, so we're going for a walk, say we're doing our training for our 10K walk, your heart rate really needs to be 50 to 70% of that. So it wants to be about 120 beats per minute. That's a good starting point, but it's easy if you've got some kind of tracker to monitor, what's going on with your heart rate.
Most of us nowadays have a smartwatch. I wear my Apple Watch usually, and it does monitor.
I have the old-fashioned, but it's quite time-consuming if you're out having a walk to try and measure what your heart rate is. And what they used to do in the hospital. So I think a watch, an activity watch, is a really good starting point. And also, if you're going to do your steps, you're going to need some kind of, just to monitor how many steps you're doing on a daily basis.
What I realized was, looking at me, everyone perhaps realized I haven't gone for a 10K walk, 12K for a long time. However, I used to do it for charities, particularly both kinds of charity in particular. And what I realized is, as you start initially exercising, your heart rate goes up much higher. And as you continue, it's kind of stabilizes. Is that correct? Is that the normal way for everyone, Lizzie?
Yeah. So just example, I was running quite hard today and my heart rate was up at 168. So that's my maximum. I wouldn't really want to be my heart rate up at much higher than that. So if you want to bring it down, you need to slow things down a little bit just until you get your fitness. So it's about how good your body is. It's called your VO2 max, but it's about how good your body is at utilizing the oxygen, to get around your body. And as you get fitter, that heart rate comes down. I mean, the elite athletes will be running hard and their heart will be down at 120, 115, but that's an elite athlete. And also the thing that I find when I'm training clients is the heart rate might come up, but the recovery is much quicker. So your heart rate comes back down to a normal level much quicker. And I don't know if you remember when you first start exercising, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so hard and it feels horrible. And then, 5 weeks in, you're like, actually, I quite enjoy having it up there, but my recovery is much quicker and I don't feel I feel more energized rather than tired at the end of a big walk or a run or whatever you're doing, swim.
Thanks, Lizzie. I mean, I was listening to, I said about endorphins and then you added serotonin. And some people say exercising can become addictive because of those factors. What are your thoughts about it?
Absolutely. I mean, they call it, again, I'm going to runners high. You've got to be working at a certain amount. You're really not going to get that high from a walk, but a run or a hard swim or a bike ride where you're elevated for an extended period of time. And it's called a runner's high. And I massively get it. Like my partner will go, oh, you've been for a run. Because I'm like, blah, 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 blah. You feel like full of energy. and it sets you up the whole day. I'm like, that's a natural high. And then add in a caffeine, a coffee as well, and I'm like, disaster. Sure. I think that's that sort of feeling, and it's about feeling strong and at one and just healthy, and it's an amazing feeling, I think. But it does take you a little while to get there. You're not going to get that runner's high immediately going out, and I think that's the problem when people first start exercising. They try and do too much too soon. You've got to set and this is, one of the things we're going to talk about is you've got to set realistic goals. So bite-sized chunks. So rather than going, right, in 9 weeks, I'm going to run a marathon. For most people, that's just unobtainable and just seems so far to reach. If you say, by 2 months, I'm going to do that. There's an app, 5K, Couch to 5K, that a lot of people are using. And that's a good starting point. And it's not bad. Running's not for everybody. I'm just using running as an example to get your fitness up because we're specifically talking about walking. But, even walking at a moderate pace, so that the goal for your heart rate would be, so if you were walking with somebody, you could still carry on a conversation. So that's kind of a good benchmark for a runner. Because if and I can't talk, then I'm probably going a little bit too fast. It's a bit too vigorous. But a moderate pace would be, I can still carry on a conversation, even though I'm huffing and puffing. And I'm feeling warm and sweating a little bit, I just saw somebody then. I love walking and I don't enjoy running, and that's the thing. It's not, running's not for everyone. And also, I've got really bad arthritis in my feet, so my feet hurt a little bit after running. So for my cardio, I tend to do swimming because it's very, very gentle on your joints, and as you get older, but you feel strong from swimming.
Thank you, Lizzie. And, I noticed you mentioned about taking small steps. One of the things I train, coach, and speak and write about is how you form the successful habit builder, like any habit, including physical activity. But including myself, it is very tempting when you start going, you want to go for an hour's walk rather than 10 minutes and build it up.
Yeah.
And, I have known, and not only in walking, in writing or speaking or doing anything else, it is much more sustainable when you build from small changes. So what small changes can people make that has most benefits to improve wellness?
So to start you off initially, I think accountability is a great thing. So if you say, so I have an online class and then people pay upfront for it. And so financially, people can be quite driven to turn up and do something. If it's a class, sign up for something or book a block or personal trainer. If financially, if you can do that, they come to your house, then you have no excuse. You're not going to say, oh no, I'm not coming today. I'm stood there on your doorstep, aren't I? So that's a good starting point. And do something with a friend. So one day you might say, oh, I really don't feel like going for a walk. And they're like, no, come on. And rather than talk yourself out of it, which we all do as humans, don't we? By the end of the day, we're like, oh, I'm tired and I just want to watch TV and I want to make some food. If you've got somebody jeering you on, you're going to, turn up. So accountability is a good one. As far as small changes go, I think, again, if you do it early on in the day, once you set yourself up. So if you tell yourself the night before, right, I'm going to go for my 2-kilometer walk, or even if you go to a coffee shop and your reward is a coffee at the end of it, sort of set yourself small little targets rather than big things, because they just seem unachievable. And I was listening to a podcast and it was just talking about how important getting outside is, your circadian rhythm, which is another thing for wellness. So there's more and more study that we're all on this 24-hour clock, and with man-made lighting and driving to work, sometimes people don't even step outside the door, and then we end up with that sad disorder in the winter. And since I've been training outside, so I've been doing 2 classes outside, but I also do a lot of personal training in the park in all weathers, as long as it's not pouring with rain. I don't have SAD anymore because I think my body gets its light and it gets its feel-good hormones, and so you're sort of setting yourself up there. So get outside, small steps, small goals. So set yourself a little challenge that you think is achievable. Another good way to get your fitness up is, and if you've heard of interval training, so you might, and again, I'm going to go back to running, but you can use this for all sorts. So you might walk for 5 minutes, you might run for 10 seconds even, just to get your heart rate up, and then go back to your walking again. Something that's achievable for you. Or if you're on a bike inside, lots of people bought, equipment. You pedal a bit faster, just get your heart rate up for like 20 seconds and then slow it back down and then bring it. So you're elevating your heart rate and then you're bringing it down and then you're elevating again. That's a really good way to get your cardio fitness up as well. So little things like that you can do.
Yes, in my habit challenge or habit builder, I always say first is assessment, know how long you're going or how many steps you are taking, and have accountability, exactly like how you mentioned. And then, of course, don't forget to accelerate, isn't it? After a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you can definitely, even adding 5 minutes more, or like 100 or 200 more steps will make a huge
and that's
change.
why watch is really good. You set yourself your 10,000 steps. So I've set myself at 12,500, and if I'm at say 9,000, I might just take myself for a little 10-minute walk in the afternoon just to get my goal on my watch. And the other thing that we were talking about was with food. Did we talk about food as far as setting up for exercise? Little changes there. We're talking about adding some protein for your breakfast. So setting yourself, so don't eat an hour and a half before you exercise. I tend to exercise on an empty stomach, but I know that's not for everybody. But have something, a small portion of toast with some peanut butter or something before you go out. So you're going to have some energy while you're out, because you don't want to be out and then you sort of all of a sudden have a sugar crash.
Personally, I always do it on an empty stomach, because if I wait for the breakfast, that's it. Exercise is never happening after that.
And you've got to understand and know your own body, haven't you? So I find my blood sugar can be a bit all over the place. So I'll tend to go all morning until lunchtime. I'll just have a coffee for a little bit of energy. and then I'll eat something quite balanced at lunchtime. But some people feel a bit sick if they're exercising on an empty stomach. But yeah, just to know, but adding a little bit of protein in with your breakfast. So don't just have a bowl of cereal, have some handful of nuts, or, you know, just because it will keep you feeling fuller longer and give you that little bit more energy.
I think being a night owl, unless until I just get up and get out, it's never happening. That's
yeah.
The other thing I learned, and now I train and teach, is accompanying it with something, and that's why I mentioned the coffee and the dancing. So little chunks, rather than not doing at all. So whenever I put my milk, because I have this proper Sri Lankan or latte it's called here, the tea or coffee, and when you put it for a few minutes in the microwave or however you want to do it, you have those minutes and you can just dance around or stretch or whatever you want to do. And every time you do that, that's the time. It's kind of gives you a trigger to start doing what you're supposed to do. What are your thoughts about it, Lizzie?
Well, that's the thing as well. You can just add in little bits of exercise. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard of Dr. Michael Mosley. He came up with a sort of very short, intense boost of exercise. So it doesn't have to be like, I think an hour for most people is like, oh my gosh, a whole hour. Whereas if you do, if you're like you say, doing something in the kitchen or waiting for the kettle to boil, you do some star jumps or some squat jumps, or just get your heart rate up a little bit. Get off the train, stop early, walk up the in the underground, walk up the stairs. And I always think, don't look at it and say, oh gosh, I've got to walk up the stairs. Go, it's free exercise. I'm not in the gym. I'm just, I always make the kids get off and not take the escalator and walk. I'm like, use it as free exercise. And just little things, even like going out and gardening. I mean, that's amazing. You're connecting with nature. You're sort of outside in the fresh air and you're moving. Gardening can be quite physical. So if you're bent over and planting, just make sure you stretch your back after you've been gardening. Sorry, just adding in little bits of, pockets of exercise. It doesn't have to be going to the gym and running a 10K every day and stuff. So
thanks, Lizzie. So we have spoken about the benefits of the physical activity, why it's important for the overall well-being. Most of us know it. So I'm going to ask you a difficult question now. The most difficult part is to get motivated to be active. So how can someone motivate themselves to do the exercise continuously?
So again, we're going to touch on the accountability. Just, make yourself accountable to somebody. So don't just say, right, I'm going to sign into an online class. I mean, I've pushed some of my exercise online now in lockdown, realizing you can do that. And I'd never done it before. And I was like, this is a whole new world that's opened up, because I moved up to Norfolk in lockdown. So all my clients are in London. So Monday morning at 9 o'clock, I do an online exercise class. It's £6. They pay me up front, but then they're accountable. They have to turn up. Well, they don't have to, but it's going to cost them £6. So they turn up. Whereas if you're just signing into something on YouTube, you can kind of put it off, or washing these, and you get distracted. So accountability is a great thing. And again, do it with a friend, 2 or 3 of you, and maybe even set up your own little WhatsApp group. Right, we're going to go walking, the weather's beautiful, and it's all started to change this week, the sun's shining here in England anyway. And the other thing is, be realistic about your goals. Just set little. So I'm going to complete, without stopping, a 1 kilometre walk. I'm talking about, I'm starting from scratch now. If you haven't done anything, people are always at different levels. And if you're fairly fit already, then you can set that goal a little bit higher. And maybe add something new in, maybe do something you've never done before. So my partner's a boxer. I'd never done boxing before. So I did some boxing, just pads with him. And now I do it with my clients. So I've got Kirabai doing boxing with me. And, so there's a new skill that you can try. And I never thought I would do that. Or get some resistance bands. We can talk about, there's some different pieces of kit that you can just have at home and just, work away. And
like you said, I ever tried boxing only during my personal training a few years back. Otherwise, I would have never. And I think learning a new skill is really good, isn't it, for mental health, for neuroplasticity, to reduce dementia. So it is always good. The other thing I was thinking while we were talking is we can also incorporate as a way to socially connect, isn't it? For us,
Yeah,
normally
sorry,
social
and
connection is eating and drinking.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, if you might go to a new dance class or table tennis or, you know, whatever you've decided to try, yoga class, and actually you're already with like-minded people because they're all there wanting to look after themselves. And then afterwards you might say, well, let's go for a coffee. So it's a really great way to meet like-minded people, and it's a good social thing, which is also another good thing for wellness, you know, that we need this social interaction. And it's not always the same online, is it? It's quite nice to be with people now that we can.
Correct, because this year for the first time, that's what I did. Me and another friend, we used to struggle to meet up because she has a full-time job and I'm usually busy. And this year we both wanted to become a bit more fit. We decided to go to a dance class together at the same place. So, you know, every week, and she has put this Google Calendar invite. So every day, even if I'm a bit feeling tired, like exactly like you said, because of the accountability, I feel I don't want to let her down. I have to go now.
I think accountability is underestimated, and I think, you know, that's a great. And also you might say, oh, I really want to be fit. I've got grandchildren. I want to play with them. I don't want to be sitting on the couch watching them. I want to join in with them, or I want to play swing ball with them in the garden. You know, just nice things like that you can do with other people. And, you know, and the dancing is, especially for older people, like you said, is that very good for sort of brain health as well, because you're having to move and think about it. So it's keeping your brain active and strong as well. So
you mentioned about boxing, you mentioned about resistant bands. So as an expert in this field, can you tell us what are the simple exercises one can do?
So if you were taking it really back to basics, I wrote down a few simple exercises. So I'm not going to be able to demo it, but so I don't know if a bridge. So you lie on your back with your knees bent, and then you push your bottom up in the air. You keep your head and your shoulders to the floor. So it's a yoga move, actually. So the bridge. So that's working all your bottom and your glute muscles, so up and down, pushing it. You can then add in. So I just like, these are just 2 kilo dumbbells. So you could then have your arms up in the air while you're pushing your bottom up and down. So that was the first one. I'm talking about sort of quite beginners here, and I apologize if people are already in the gym lifting really heavy weights. A push-up on your knees. I'm still not very good at full push-ups. As a woman, we tend to be a little bit weaker in our upper bodies. So on your knees, your body is at this angle, your arms are going to come out to the side. So you're going to get right into your chest and your triceps here. And women are always saying to me, this is the part of my arm as we get older, you know, we want to tone this part of our arms up. So a push up from your knees. So if you did 5, take a little break, and then do another, maybe build yourself up to 15, you know, with a little break. Take as many breaks as you need. You don't need to do them all in one go. There was another one that was really good for your hips. So you lie on your side and you have both legs out straight, and you lift one leg up at a time. So it's called a sideline hip abduction. Abduction, you're moving away from your body. So that's really good for the outside of your hip. And then a wall squat. So Kirabai, I'd make her do these. It's a wall squat. So you have your back to the wall and you have your thighs at a 90-degree angle. So we're like this. And you push yourself into the wall, and you're really firing up all your thigh muscles. Now you can either then come up and down the wall, or you can then do like an air squat. So is everyone familiar with a squat? So you're just standing, feet are hip width apart, you're sticking your bottom out. You've got to keep your weight even over your feet, and you're just standing up and bending down. So that would be an air squat. And then you could add in your weights. And then I have these are resistant bands. So you would put this just above. So this is a medium one. It's quite tough. You would put it just above your knees. So you've got a bit more resistance. It keeps all your hips in the right place. And you just squat down and up with the band around your knees. And then I also have, these are great things just to take to the park, because obviously you don't want to be taking weights into the park and stuff. So this is a resistance band with the weights here. So I would put my foot on it and my feet on it, and then I would sort of bicep curl. So it's creating as much resistance as you need, depending on where you put your feet. But there's loads of different things on YouTube that you can, look up. And if you're unsure of the position, so just put in squat position, how do I do a squat correctly? Or so that's a really good, because you're working those big muscle groups. There's a lot going on in a squat. And some kind of ab. So we all know that the need to have strong abs. If your abs are really weak, you're going to have all sorts of problems with your back. So you need to be doing, I'm not saying, so a plank is a really good starting point. So hands to the floor, your shoulders are over your hands. Everything is now strong in a straight line, and I'm on my toes. So a plank position is really good. If you start holding it for 10 seconds and build your way up. Or some curls. Now, I don't like just masses of sit-ups because I think it's really bad, can be really bad for your back. So you lie on the floor with your knees bent and you just curl, and you lie back and you curl. So rather than I'm not pulling on my head, I'm using my abs to curl myself up into that position. So yeah, abs is really important, and there's loads of ab exercises out there as well. I could just go on and on and on. There's so many different variations.
Thank you, Lizzie.
And of course, when you've done that, you stretch. You need to do some stretching as well. You want to pull your muscles back out. And even after walking, you need to stretch. So a really good one would be standing on one leg, maybe holding onto the chair and holding your foot behind you. So you're getting into the front of your thighs, and then a hamstring stretch, because walking and running can make those really tight. So you need to stretch everything back out. But we were talking about maybe doing, when we're doing our 10K challenge, just doing some exercises. We'll do like a 20 or 30-minute class online, and we can go over some dynamic stretching. And
that's correct. Thank you for sharing them. I think when it comes to demonstrations for preparing the group for 10K walk, I'm sure you would be able to demonstrate it much better.
And it's quite hard for me to tell, because even when I'm personal training, I'm very visual. I kind of want to show you what you're doing rather than me telling you, because if you get bad form, you can injure yourself. You're not going to go very heavyweight, but you want good form. It's all about good form and doing things very slowly and just doing it correctly, because you do want to be careful of your back and things.
From Google it, we have gone to YouTube it, now everything is there. We can find it, but however, I think I'm sure Lizzie will agree with it. Please do go to your medical professional or go to a proper trainer and see what is more suitable for you, rather than taking anyone's word for what you should do and shouldn't do.
Yes, and that's it. I'm not medically trained. I'm professional, personal trainer trained, and that's very different to medically trained. But I know what's good for your body, but if you have an issue, then it's probably best to get your healthcare professional to check you over and just say yes, you're okay to go and start exercising.
Thank you, Lizzie. So we have established that we can start with small pieces and what equipments we can use. The next question I wanted to ask, is there an optimal time for exercising? Because as I mentioned, people who are the night owls, perhaps not the people who go early in the morning for a run or a jog or a walk. So is there an optimal time to do exercise?
Optimal time as in when you should do it, or for the amount of time you should do it?
Both.
I found this very confusing. So the optimal time to exercise, as in time of day, so between 3 and 6 is when your body's temperature is more elevated. So some people say that's when you should be exercising, because you'll get more out of yourself when your body's running at a high temperature. But like most people, if you don't do that first in the day, you talk yourself out of it. There's always something else going on, unless you're really dedicated and an athlete where you have to train and make it part of your day. Lots of people come mid-afternoon, late afternoon, everyone's busy working. I've now talked myself out of my exercise. So I think if you can do it in the morning, and I think what's really important is you make it part of your routine. If you have to fit it in. So I am in London Wednesday and Thursday. I have 2 very full days personal training, but there's a yoga class that I love that's at 10:30 till 11:30. I don't deviate from that. I do that class every single week. And I started putting other clients in, and then I thought, I actually need to train myself. I need to do something for me. So I book them in before, or I book them in after, and I don't change that class. So I think once it becomes part of your routine, it becomes much easier. As far as timings go, so they say you should be doing 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week. And I touched on about your heart rate. So moderate, I wrote down some exercises for moderate. So moderate would be brisk walking, riding a bike, dancing, tennis, even cutting the lawn. Vigorous would be running, swimming, walking up the stairs. And then very vigorous would be sort of HIIT training, interval training, where you're getting your heart rate up to its maximum and then bringing it back down again. And then strengthening your muscles would be things like yoga, Pilates, lifting weight, and resistance bands. So there's all sorts of different training. But you need to be doing your vigorous exercise, your moderate exercise, 150 minutes, but you then also need to add in a couple of strength sessions really a week. Because, you know, I could be walking, but that's not really working. My muscles are making them stronger. So I need to be doing something where I'm load bearing those muscles. So it could be working against a resistance band, holding a little like light dumbbells, even jumping. So if you're jumping onto something and then stepping it off, that's going to give your bones enough trauma that it keeps them strong, like they will rebuild themselves. Whereas walking, that's not enough, especially women. And I know we're going to touch on like menopausal or perimenopausal women. We need to keep our bones strong because you have the issues of osteoporosis, and for men too, but specifically women.
Yes. The reason I asked is I'm working as a dentist now, but like a couple of years, I came off it for a while and then went back to working more hours in dentistry now. But prior, I took the break. I used to go right after practicing dentistry straight to the gym because it was like around the corner and I would just do a class. And I felt that I was so much more consistent in my exercising than doing randomly. And that's the reason I asked,
Yes.
Is there a particular time? Though it wasn't in the morning, because personally for me, when I get home, and that's the end of the day. You know, psychologically, I'm turned off.
Me too. I'm not very good at then going back out again, especially in winter when it's dark and cold. It's like, where would you rather be? So you just, like my partner, he starts work really early at 7 o'clock. So he gets up at 5:30. He's in the gym for 6 o'clock. That I don't even want to do that. I don't want to get up at 5:30 to exercise, but that works for him. So it's whatever works for you, as long as you do something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lizzie. I will come back to the perimenopausal women as well. There's another group I want to touch upon. The adults over 50s, 60s, 70s can also have other health problems. So what is your advice for them to improve wellness?
So I haven't really trained anyone over 65 but I'm going to go on my mum. So my mum is 75. So in lockdown, I got her to do some very gentle Pilates. She would just put YouTube videos on and do 10, 15 minutes. And she's had a hip replacement. So people know if you've got arthritis, you need to move. You don't want to just be sitting down. So she will go with her friend every afternoon, or actually most afternoons, and take the dog for a walk. You know, very gentle, but she's out, she's moving around. And you know, I was a little bit sort of going, okay, come on, mum, you can do this. And actually, you know, she can't. And she was from a generation that really didn't do that much exercise. I don't know if it became sort of more popular, you know, weight load bearing to her was a bit like, and so I would get her, so in her armchair, I'd get her to stand up and then just sit down, her bottom touches the chair and she stand back up again, just to get her muscles in her legs activated. So it's going to be very different, the exercises you do, unless you've continued it from, I hope I'm doing this in my 70s, if you've continued it from, you know, and you started it much younger, then I think you can carry on with it. But just mobility, movement, very gentle yoga. There's classes now for, you know, senior, I don't know what you class a senior.
Yeah.
There's something, you know, very gentle weights, like a 2 kilo dumbbell. Most people are going to have to do something with their dumbbell, or, you know, very gentle, like I said, Pilates, yoga. And if you've done exercise, carry on with it. Table tennis is a really good exercise. That's that hand-eye coordination. You're standing, but and then you're with somebody. So again, the whole social aspect. You just have to find something that suits you. Dancing, you know, walking. Everyone, you know, there's no reason.
Because I think dancing also lifts your mood up, isn't it? It's not only the exercise. I'm sure every exercise releases endorphins, but I think dancing does have something to it, because perhaps it's very interrelated with music as well.
And it's fun.
Yes.
It's fun. If I dance around my kitchen with my 13-year-old being silly, it's fun. You know, we're giggling together. Anything that lifts your mood is brilliant, isn't it?
I agree totally. I would say
Lawn
my
bowls is
favorite.
another thing that's older. Yeah, sorry. In this country, there's a lot of lawn bowls. So especially in the summer, out and about, very social, very gentle, but you're moving. You know, you're kind of almost down to the floor throwing a ball. So yeah, I'm not going to say go and have a mad boxing class if you're saying, although there are boxing for seniors now, just very gentle.
Thank you, Lizzie. I know this is an area you're passionate about. It is well known metabolism is altered in perimenopausal, menopausal women. What is your advice to them in terms of diet, physical activity, and sleep?
Yeah, so your metabolism unfortunately slows down. Exercise is a great way to keep the weight off, because unfortunately when our hormone levels change as women tend to then gain weight like men around the middle, which is just not a great place to have your weight. So if you can incorporate some physical activity into your life, so that's going to keep that on. And also your mood can shift massively during perimenopause and menopause. So again, it comes back to that serotonin, lifting your mood, and the social aspect, because I think a lot of women think they're going through this on their own, and actually there's a whole group of me and my friends and a lot of my clients who come to my class. We're all sort of late 40s, all going through the same thing. So we kind of share information, and this works or this doesn't work, or and everybody's different. Everyone's going to be on their own journey as far as the menopause goes. Apologies for the young ones, they're not there yet, but it will happen, and it's going to happen to half the population. And also I think men need to understand it for their wives and their mums or whoever. It's it affects everybody on some kind of level. Yeah, daughters, exactly. Yeah, so keep moving. And again, the whole thing with women for osteoporosis, we lose bone density, and so you need some kind of exercise where you're it sounds awful, but you're sort of traumatizing your bones enough that they rebuild themselves strong, because they can become, like doctors would know more, but osteoporosis becomes sort of hollowed out, doesn't it?
Sure.
Not very strong. And sorry.
Totally agreed. I was about to say, I'm not an expert in this area either, but Dr. Lakshmi did a talk on menopause in particular, and she is the expert. So one of our team members can share it in the chat box if you want to go and look it up, or go to the YouTube channel Meet Menaca, and you will be able to find it there as well.
And there's with hip breaks, there's sort of this awful thing where older women, they fall over and break their hips, and it can be so detrimental to leading to early, premature death. So I think just exercising right up until just to do ordinary everyday things. You don't want to fall over and break your hip, so you need keep everything strong, and a lot of it is going to come down to diet as well, the things that you're not, and smoking, because you don't want to be leaching all the good stuff out of your bones from smoking. So any kind of load bearing, again, skipping, let's all get skipping. Jump, anything we do, that kind of thing.
Thanks, Lizzie, that's very helpful. So the other aspect I was thinking about when I was thinking of having you, following the pandemic, many of us are working remotely, and even teenagers are attending many classes remotely. This has resulted in most of us sitting in front of the computers for a long period of time. Do you have any advice, firstly, on posture, and secondly, what are the ill effects of sitting for long durations?
So when you sit in a sitting position, my glute muscles, which are the muscles that run up the back of your leg and up into your bottom, they become overextended. So you're in this position, whereas you should be in that position. So if you're not moving them and engaging them, they become quite weak. And on the front of your body, because your front of your leg is in this position, that's your hip flexors, they become quite tight because they're now in the incorrect position. So that can cause all sorts of issues. So I'm going to give you one of the best stretches, and I always say this to my clients when they're like on your tummy and you push back gently into a cobra. So you're overextending that front hip flexor, so you're stretching it back out again. And very gentle squats. If you're sitting a lot at your computer, just get up and do 10 squats. You can't do a squat without engaging your bottom. to push yourself up, you have to engage it. So just get up and do some squats. The other thing that happens, you become quite rounded here, so you can become tight in this. So a little simple exercise is if you can do this and you can pull back your arms here, or stand with your back against the wall. If you can run your hands and keep them to the wall, you're doing pretty well at the front here. And down. This can become really tight here and weak across the back. So you need to do, so there's a very simple exercise sitting. It's called a dumb waiter. This isn't going to engage here, engage at the back. Keep your elbows into your side and you just, it's a very simple exercise, but you'll feel your back switching on because you don't want this position. And then that one again, just pull them back here, which is stretching here, because even in kids now, they're like doing this all day. That's not a normal position for a human. You should be running around and moving and not sitting at a desk all day.
I'm sure very helpful for dentists as well. Thank you so much, Lizzie, because it is a fact, isn't it? More and more people are sitting. So I think these small tips can change lives, because usually people think if it's exercising, you have to go for half an hour. So what you said, you can just get up and do 10 squats and come back and continue to do what you are doing. I think
set yourself a little timer on your watch every 20 minutes. Get up, walk around, run up the stairs, run down the stairs, go and put the kettle on, do your squats. Just get yourself moving and engaging everything. Switch. It's all about switching on your muscles, because if you're not moving, then they're just in that position and they're not firing up. So you can get quite technical about it, but that's what you need to do. And you need to, there's electrical messages all from your brain onto all your mitochondria. So you need to kind of keep all those connections working. So you need to be moving them to fire them up.
Thanks, Lizzie. Sometimes people develop back pain as they grow older, including myself. What can they do to prevent and manage this?
So again, strong abs, you need to work the front of it, because what happens if your abs are really weak, your back is then taking up the slack. And just checking your posture. So make sure when you're standing, you're not tilting forward. Make sure your head is actually on the top of your shoulders. You know, if you think about this big weight, it kind of sometimes, especially if you're looking, I was finding in lockdown, I was teaching online and my phone was there and I was getting all sorts of back issues, mainly upper back. And I realized that I'm leaning forward, looking at the screen. So it was just about pull your head back so you're all in the correct position. And also stretching. It's really important to stretch. There's loads of things. So I don't know if you're familiar with a cat-cow, so you're on all fours, just getting some movement through your spine. It's not meant to be rigid. You need to kind of elongate it a little bit. So you round out and then you push up from an all fours position. It's called a cat-cow if you want to look. That's a really good exercise for your back. Lying on your back, hugging your knees into your chest, that kind of releases lower back pain. And just a forward fold, so hanging, just leaning forward, legs, knees slightly bent, and just hanging down and letting everything relax. And that really decompresses your spine at the back. But do some very gentle ab work if you've got back issues. That's especially lower back. That's, yeah, your back's taking up the slack if you're weak here at the front. So, and there'll be all sorts of things on YouTube to start off with, you know, gentle ab exercises.
Thank you, Lizzie. It's very helpful. You know, in today's environment, a lot of families are facing financial challenges at this time due to increase in fuel prices, food items, etc. Approximately, the electricity and gas bill has gone up almost by £800. In this difficult time, do you have any suggestion to keeping the fitness program without paying a monthly subscription to a gym?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much free content out there. You know, I do, I'll give her a shout out, Cassandra Yoga. She's a lady in Canada. She does, what I like is it's a 10-minute yoga. I mean, I love to do all the strength thing, but I love my yoga as well. I think it's amazing for stretching and just to ground you. So I'll throw my mat on the floor and I put a YouTube video on, and she's got loads and loads. Cassandra Yoga with a K, we can like link it or whatever. And I love the fact that she does these 10-minute morning flow or evening flow if you're getting ready to bed, just to slow everything down. So that, you know, there's loads of things online that you can do. You can find HIIT classes. So as long as you've got Wi-Fi and a TV, you can be doing stuff in your living room. And most of it is without, you know, Joe Wicks. We were massive followers of Joe Wicks in the lockdown. I'd get the kids up because it'd be the start of our day. So we've got two 13-year-olds. and they would do 20 minutes of Joe Wicks before. They'd have to sit and do their online classes. And then in between, I would say, right, you need to run up and down stairs 6 times, because otherwise they would just be sitting nearly all day long. It was so bad for kids, the lockdown. And then just little pieces of, I mean, these are nothing, like not even a box is probably £5 from Decathlon. I don't know if you're familiar. I think they're all over the place, aren't they? You know, any kind of resistance band. You can get the long ones that you can tie so you can pull against it. They cost next to nothing, but there's so many different things you can do with your own body weight. Push-ups, holding planks, getting outside, going for your walks. Most people have got a bike or, you know, football. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of things you can do that don't cost money. If you want to swim, you're obviously going to have to pay, but, you know, you can go. You don't have to have an expensive gym membership. You can go to the local swimming bars that cost, you know, if you go off peak times, a couple of quid to go and have a nice swim.
There are many benefits to walking. So coming back to the 10-kilometer challenge we are going to do, to training the schedule for beginners to increase stamina and adding in strength for others. Do you have a schedule how this is going to happen?
So if you were starting from not walking very much, if you were starting sort of from this level, I found a good walking that's 5 weeks basically from the start. So you would, and it says you're going to feel some muscle aches when you first start, you know, walking, and it's common, and you've got to ease into it gently, and you need to incorporate rest days. So maybe do 3 days and then have a rest day. So you would just gradually build up the time that you're doing it for. So you would do a 15-minute walk at an easy pace, and then you'd aim for a total of 60 to 75 minutes a week. And then and then it was saying alternate rest days within the week. And then you improve your walking technique. People just think of just walking as normal, but actually you need to sort of the way you push off from your feet and using your arms rather than having your arms in your pocket. Use your arms, because it will, you know, help push you along. And it will also boost your walking speed and fitness. And then you just increase, and I printed a thing out so we can go over it in more detail, but continue walking and get some good walking shoes. Make sure you're in shoes that are comfortable, and socks. And socks sounds such a simple thing, but actually you don't want to be getting blisters. So you need good, sort of slightly padded, you know, sports socks, and really good trainers. You don't want to be going in like Converse where there's no protection for your feet. I mean, I have the thickest trainers known to man, because I've got my big toe joint I've got arthritis in it. So I need all the help I can get with walking. So just invest in a pair of shoes if you're going to, you know, you need to be comfortable, and light, loose cotton clothing. You don't want to be overheating. You want to be comfortable when you're walking, and dress for the weather. You know, I mean, this week it's going to be up to 20, so you maybe need a light jacket, but if it's cold, then you need to make sure you're warm. You don't want to be getting cold when you're walking.
Yeah, layering up, I guess. Thank you so much, Lizzie. So just for people who are listening on Facebook or on the Zoom, and it will ultimately go on the YouTube, we are thinking of a date in October, around mid of October, first, second week of October, because after the school holidays, that will be a great time for people to get back into routine. And so Lizzie will be training virtually, just introduction, how you can train yourself for those 5 weeks to get out there and start getting ready. And all the money we will be raising through that walk will be going to a charity in a remote area in Trincomalee for a women's charity in Sri Lanka. So I think the team is going to share the link for our Facebook group for Meet Menaca. What we are planning to do is start from April onwards. Lizzie is also going to join that group, and please start putting how many steps you are taking. 10,000 steps is the norm. I take it usually, but I am not the most active either. So don't feel shy. Even if 3,000 steps are better than no steps at all. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter. It's starting small, as we told again and again. So I think let's not wait for September to come. and then panic. How are we going to...
Let's make the most of the nice weather.
Nice weather, exactly. So let's have this accountability in our group for the community in Meet Menaca, and let's put the steps in, and so that we are preparing ourselves. Well, firstly, we are becoming active and healthy for mental health as well. And secondly, we are going to be raising awareness and raising funds to help a charity in Sri Lanka. So please do participate actively, and let's do it together. And thank you so much, Lizzie, for agreeing to do it. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
We have a very nice route in London that takes into some very nice high bits in Hampstead Heath and some park. So we're going to have to incorporate some hill walking in our training as well, because there are some hills. But you'll be well rewarded with a nice view for those that come along.
I'll definitely come up with my camera on. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you so much. One last question for you is, how has been the experience of our talk show for you?
Oh, I was so nervous and I've loved it. It's been great to see so many people, and it's been really fun, and thank you for inviting me. I was thinking I'm not worthy, but actually once I start talking about it, I was like, whoa. I think when you're passionate about something, and I just hope even a tiny bit has rubbed off on anybody, and that they think, oh, I'm actually going to go for a walk now today, and you will feel so much better for doing it.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. It was a great session. For everyone, please hold on. It's not over yet. You will be given a chance to ask questions from Lizzie straight. Following tradition, let me announce the episode 83 with Jayashree Anthony. She's the founder of Master Brain Academy. Master Brain Academy was selected as a best practice representative and featured in the Parliamentary Review of 2021. With 3 teaching academies and looking to further into expanding its portfolio, Master Brain's soul lingers around developing and nourishing the minds of today's children, the future of tomorrow. She will be coming and talking on a Mothering Sunday about how to balance motherhood and career, which most of us can relate to, I'm sure. So I'm so looking forward to it. Now over to Suja Correa to give the word of thanks.
Thank you, Lizzie, for joining us today and being so passionate and speaking so passionately, which rubs up so well. You may not realize it, but once you start speaking, oh, this does this makes me do it, it actually rubs it onto us, and we feel so wanting to do that as well. So thank you so much for doing that, first of all. Secondly, what I enjoyed listening to is the fact that you explain things at different levels, for beginners, for medium people who are already started exercising, those who want to dare and do it even higher. So you gave explanation that it's for everyone, not just for those who are already doing it or those who are going to start doing it. It's for everyone. And you explained it so well, and you explained about various types of exercises, cardio, strength training, and how to incorporate it into our life. That's the most important thing that I believe it's for our life, that incorporating this working out into our life. So thank you so much for doing that. And we are absolutely grateful for all your time that you are going to be investing on us here at Meet Menaca platform by being part of our team, giving exercise tips, giving plans for people to get ready for this walk. So thank you so much for joining us on board. And it is a great pleasure having you today. And we are very much looking forward to being part of your team for the rest of the year until October, until we do our walk. So let's do it together. And thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Suja.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Suja. And once again, thank you so much, Lizzie. As Suja said, we really, really appreciate your time and commitment, particularly for raising awareness amongst us and also being able to raise funds for a women's charity in Sri Lanka. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that commitment. Next week, we will be talking about how to balance motherhood and career with Jayashree Anthony in our episode 83. And as ever, a huge thank you for everyone who supports our channel week after week on Zoom, particularly, firstly, because it is not easy. I know everyone has a busy schedule, and one doctor, just before we started, she said she has a commitment on Sundays, and it's so good to see her, even though she has this commitment. So like that, many of you I know are busy people, wear many hats outside this. And thank you so much for coming and supporting us week after week. And next, thank you so much for the community in Meet Menaca. And I think it's a very active WhatsApp group. Sometimes even I myself can't keep up with it. I have to take some breaks. So thank you so much for being very active and sharing very valuable information there. Last but not the least, people who are listening to us week after week on Facebook, thank you so much. Please do subscribe to the channel and help us impact more people across the globe. That is the intention of this talk show. So thank you so much. It has come to that time of the day for the Facebook group to say goodbye. Until then, keep healthy, be safe, and keep smiling.